I've always believed that trust is the foundation of any marriage. I trusted my wife, Sarah, completely. We'd been married for 5 years, and I thought we had the perfect life. That was until one rainy Tuesday afternoon when my world came crashing down. I'd woken up that morning feeling awful. A throbbing headache, a fever, the whole 9 yards. My boss took one look at me and sent me home. I was grateful, just wanting to crawl into my own bed and sleep it off. I texted Sarah to let her know I was heading home early, but she didn't reply. I figured she was busy at work. I pulled into our driveway. I noticed a car I didn't recognize, a sleek, black sports car parked right where I usually put my own. A weird feeling crept into my gut. I tried to shrug it off. Maybe it was a client of hers. Sarah was a successful real estate agent after all. I unlocked the front door as quietly as I could, not wanting to disturb her if she was on a call. The house was silent, which was odd. I kicked off my shoes and started walking towards our bedroom, hoping to just collapse onto the bed. But as I got closer, I heard it. Whispers, and then a sound that made my blood run cold, a woman's laugh, Sarah's laugh. But it wasn't the happy, carefree laugh I loved. This one was different, intimate. It was followed by a man's low chuckle. My heart started pounding against my ribs, a sick, heavy drumbeat. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, to leave, to pretend I hadn't heard anything. But I couldn't. I had to know. My hand was shaking as I reached for the doorknob to our bedroom. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The scene that greeted me is burned into my memory forever. Sarah was there, in our bed, with a man I'd never seen before. They were tangled together, oblivious to my presence. The world tilted on its axis. The air was sucked out of my lungs. I just stood there, frozen in the doorway, a ghost in my own home. It felt like an eternity before Sarah finally saw me. Her eyes widened in horror, her face turning pale. The man with her scrambled to cover himself, looking panicked. The silence was deafening, broken only by my ragged breathing. I didn't shout. I didn't scream. I just turned around, walked out of the room, and closed the door behind me. I walked back to the living room and sank onto the couch, my head in my hands. The sickness I felt before was nothing compared to this. This was a soul-crushing agony. Betrayal. It's a simple word, but it doesn't even begin to cover the depth of the pain. I heard frantic scrambling from the bedroom, whispered arguments, and then the sound of the front door opening and closing as the man made his escape. Sarah came out a few minutes later, wrapped in a robe, her face tear-streaked. She started stammering apologies, excuses, justifications. "It didn't mean anything," she cried. "It was a mistake," but I wasn't listening. The man I was just a few minutes ago, the trusting, loving husband, was gone. In his place was someone cold and methodical. I told her to leave. She begged, she pleaded, but I was a stone wall. She finally packed a bag and left, still sobbing. The moment the door closed behind her, the numbness wore off, replaced by a white-hot rage. But I knew that raw anger wouldn't help me. I needed a plan. She had destroyed our marriage, our trust, our future. I was going to dismantle her life, piece by piece, with surgical precision. The first thing I did was hire the best private investigator I could find. I wanted to know everything. Who was this man? How long had this been going on? The pie was expensive, but worth every penny. While he worked, I started my own investigation. Sarah was a real estate agent, and a very good one. She prided herself on her professional image and her spotless reputation. Her success was built on her connections and her carefully crafted public persona. That was her weakness. The PI's report came back a week later, and it was worse than I could have imagined. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It had been going on for over a year. The man was a wealthy property developer, one of her biggest clients. The PI gave me everything. Photos, chat logs, hotel receipts. It was a mountain of evidence. He even uncovered something else. Sarah and her lover had been engaging in some shady real estate deals, using insider information to flip properties for a huge profit, cutting out their partners and in some cases violating ethics codes. That was the key. Her career was her identity. It was built on a foundation of lies. My plan had 2 parts, social and legal. For the social part, I started subtly. Sarah was part of a tight-knit community of high-end real estate agents. They all knew each other, went to the same events, and were part of the same professional organizations. I compiled an anonymous email package. Contained a few carefully selected photos, nothing too explicit, but enough to leave no doubt about the affair. I also included screenshots of their conversations, the ones where they laughed about deceiving me and others. I sent it to the husbands and wives of Sarah's closest colleagues and friends, not to the agents themselves, but to their spouses. I knew gossip would spread like wildfire. Within days, the whispers started. Sarah's friends became distant. Lunch invitations stopped. She was being slowly but surely frozen out of the social circle she valued so much. She called me furious, accusing me of ruining her life. I just stayed calm and told her she'd done that all by herself. Now for part 2, the legal assault. I took the evidence of her unethical real estate dealings to a lawyer. We built a case. It wasn't just about the affair anymore, so it was about professional misconduct. We compiled a formal complaint and submitted it to the State Real Estate Licensing Board. The complaint detailed how she and her lover had used their positions to defraud other investors and violate their fiduciary duties. The board launched a full-scale investigation. Our brokerage, fearing the scandal, suspended her license pending the outcome. Her wealthy lover, desperate to protect his own reputation, cut all ties with her immediately, leaving her completely isolated. The divorce proceedings were a formality. The evidence of infidelity and the ongoing professional investigation, she had no leverage. Her lawyer advised her to settle quickly and quietly. She lost everything. She had to sell her share of the house to me, lost her professional license, and was facing potential lawsuits from the investors she'd cheated. Her name was mud in the industry she'd worked so hard to conquer. The last I heard, she'd moved out of state, trying to start over somewhere no one knew her name. Some might say my revenge was cruel, that I should have just walked away. But she didn't just break my heart. She tried to make a fool of me. She built her success on deceit, and I simply pulled the curtain back and let the world see her for who she really was. I didn't destroy her life. I just exposed the truth, and her world, built on a foundation of lies, simply couldn't stand. I've since moved on, and while the scar is still there, I've learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the best way to heal is to make sure justice is served. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know that you're not alone, and you have the strength to get through it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true stories.